Exposed. Trump's attack on the American institutions are part of a deliberate strategy. Hello and welcome back. We've repeatedly seen Mr. Trump attack the Judiciary, Senate, FBI, CIA, Russian, Chinese, and God knows what else. We've always assumed that Mr. Trump might just be a little crazy, but nothing can be further from the truth. This video exposes Mr. Trump's insidious agenda behind undermining American institutions. Let's look into why Mr. Trump actually does it. Since the dawn of time, rulers have manipulated nations for greed, power, and wealth. The art of manipulation is so old that several hundred books have been written. The most notable are The Prince by Machiavelli and 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The books teach lying and manipulation to acquire power. Well, to be candid, one doesn't need to spend hours reading these books to learn the secrets of manipulation and power. You could simply sit with President Trump for an hour to understand it all. Mr. Trump has bullied, lied, and smeared innocent people in his relentless drive to power. And he's still doing it. In this video, we'll focus on Mr. Trump's character trait, lying.
These people are sick. They're sick. They're deranged. I talk about the enemy on the outside and the enemy from within. So you have Russia, you have China, but if you have a smart president, you always handle him. Quite easily, actually. We have a lot of advantages. But the enemy from within, they are doing damage to this country. In 2016, I won the entire border along Texas, and they're all like 85%. And it's been great from the beginning, and now I'm leading. I think I'm leading over this guy that can't put two sentences together, that's destroying our country. Look, he's the worst president in the history of this country, and he's a danger to the country.
So there you have it, folks. It's the Russians, the Chinese, it's Biden, and the enemy from within, who can be anyone who disagrees with Mr. Trump. Let's take a look at another clip.
Donald Trump lies like breathing. He doesn't know what the truth is.
The crowd was massive. That was all the way back down to the Washington Monument.
It looked like a million and a half people to get this network. And it showed an empty field. And it said we drew 250,000 people. Now that's not bad, but it's a lie.
Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't even know he lied that much. But why does Mr. Trump lie that much? Is it a psychological problem? Is he aware that he's lying? Is it deliberate? Or does he do it because it's a habit? What if the reason isn't that? What if the real reason behind Mr. Trump's lies is even more insidious? Mr. Trump recently made his first appearance after the verdict on Fox News. While he was talking, one of the hosts asked him, "How do we build trust in institutions?" By institutions, she meant the Judiciary, the Senate, the FBI, and the CIA. The implication is that the American people no longer believe in their institutions. Mr. Trump was then asked that to rebuild people's trust in institutions, would he be willing to declassify information? To which Mr. Trump answered in affirmative. Let's take a look at the actual clip.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
He's saying that he would declassify 9/11 documents, JFK assassination documents, and even Epstein documents. It must be noted that when Mr. Trump was in power and he had the chance to declassify JFK documents, he didn't do it. Mr. Trump was also clever enough not to mention that he had been connected to Epstein.
After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests. Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot."
So all these things he said sitting in Fox News studios were lies. He didn't declassify JFK documents, and it seems Epstein was one of his buddies. It's just one of Mr. Trump's campaign promises. It's just another carrot. He has no intention of declassifying any classified documents. This leads us to the main point of this video, that Mr. Trump has no intention of doing so because Mr. Trump thrives on the public's mistrust. Mr. Trump wants the public to believe him and not the institutions. Why? Because Mr. Trump, like many populist rulers, thrive on anarchy. A certain percentage of Americans indeed skeptical about the institutions. But why would Mr. Trump want to change that? That works well for him. Mr. Trump repeatedly tells his supporters that America is under threat, that the institutions have been infiltrated by the enemy, that people can trust no one but Mr. Trump himself. What would happen if people started believing in the institutions? They would accept the court's verdict and go home. They will stop believing Mr. Trump's lies and start believing in the institutions. Mr. Trump doesn't want his supporters to believe in science. He doesn't want them to believe in the military. He doesn't want them to believe in Google. He only wants them to believe in him.
He tweeted this very early this morning. Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing, reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others so that almost all stories and news is bad.
They're really treading on very, very troubled territory, and they have to be careful. It's not fair to large portions of the population.
While it's true, a lot of stories about Trump are negative, it's also kind of hard to put a positive spin on the conviction of Paul Manafort, the guilty plea of Michael Cohen.
Bottom line is that even if Trump strengthened the institutions, he won't be doing it for the American people, but only so he could consolidate his power.